All right, now we're on the ninth paragraph of Bati Lagani. This is the paragraph that is relevant to this year. What does it mean? This Mamar, this Chassidic discourse, has 20 paragraphs in it. 20 paragraphs in it. And every year, the Lubavitcher Rebbe would explain one of these 20 paragraphs. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe was Rebbe for 40 years. So in other words, he explained every paragraph twice. Right? The first 20 years, he explained every year another one, so it was 20. And then he went and did it again. This year corresponds to the ninth paragraph. The ninth paragraph. Let's see what we can do to put this into use this year. Hine b'mishkan mikdash, in the tabernacle and in the temple, shehaya avodah, that there was a service of God, leshapcha, to transform, chashucha, selfishness, darkness, lenahora, to light, to transform egotism to Judaism, ba'avodat birurim, in the service of what we call birurim, the service of clarification, the karbanos, of the sacrifices. Now, all these terms we translated before in this mimer, but hear this. In the temple, they would actually sacrifice animals. Why would they sacrifice animals? Isn't that a cruel, barbaric, primitive thing? Sacrifice animals. Who sacrifices animals? So the answer is that everyone should be sacrificing animals. Which animals? The animal inside of us. Everyone has an animal inside of them, and that animal we have to sacrifice. But the word for sacrifice in Hebrew means to make close. Korban lekorev. To come close to the truth constantly. In the time of the temple, the kindest thing you could do to an animal was to bring it to the holy temple and sacrifice it. If a person feeds an animal, takes care of it, pets it, so the animal remains an animal. If a person slaughters an animal and eats it, then the animal becomes a human being. The animal elevates itself. The purpose of an animal is to raise up another level of consciousness. That's how an animal can raise up to be a human being. But if you took an animal to the holy temple, the animal actually became unified with its creator. It became unified with the creator. Hard to believe, but that's the whole idea of Judaism, is to unite the creation with the creator. Now just think about it. There's millions and millions and millions of animals in the world, and God creates them all. So God must be pretty good. If you think that animals are good and that you should be kind to animals, you're right. But think how much kinder you should be to the creator of the animals. So God must be infinitely, infinitely, infinitely good if he creates all these wonderful animals in the world. And one of the things that God wants is that the animals, at least one of these animals, should be created, connected with the creator. You should do with the animal what the creator wants you to do with it.
The animals that are sacrificed are kosher, pure animals, no blemishes.
Right.
We're going to unite with the Creator.
Right.
A very, very good thing. Before you said we should sacrifice the animal soul within us.
Oh.
But the animal soul with us is not the best in us. In many cases, that's what we're trying to fix, to squash.
Right, okay.
Eliminate.
Very good. Okay, first of all, that's one of the reasons. Let's start off simply. An animal is not a human being, right? God does not want human sacrifices. He didn't want human sacrifices. Now he does want human sacrifices.
I didn't mean any way that we're doing
I'm saying, listen.
The animal soul.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. In the time of the temple, there was no such thing as human sacrifices. Right? Now, what this mimer says is we must make human sacrifices. Who's the human? Ourselves. What's the animal? The animal is the animal side of ourselves. So even the most blemished animal soul is still more pure than an actual animal. An actual animal can't think, it can't speak. An actual animal can't change its mind. An actual animal has no free will. We have to do with it. Our animal soul does speak, and it does think, and it does have free will, and it can do what it wants. And the idea is sacrificing it means making it closer, not killing it, not making it stop being an animal. In the Beit HaMikdash, you took an animal and you made it not animal anymore. It wasn't an animal. The animal became mitzvah, it became holy. Here we're taking our animal soul and we're not trying to stop from being an animal. It's good that it's an animal. God made it an animal, but it has to be tamed animal. It has to be an animal that listens to the master. Who is the master? Is God. So here what we're doing is taking, if you want to call it an impure animal, and making it pure. That's called birurim. We're making it pure. In the Holy Temple, when they took an animal, what they would do is they would take a pure animal, right? But it would elevate all the animals, even the impure ones. It would elevate all the animals in the world. If there was no such thing as a cows, you couldn't make a cow sacrifice. It's just that when you brought a cow sacrifice, it had to be pure. That's one thing. Another thing is like this. If you really want your animal soul to come closer to God, part of the coming close to God, one of the preparations is to purify it. In other words, get rid of the bad thoughts, get rid of the bad actions, get rid of the bad speech, get rid of those things. Those things are not making a sacrifice yet. Really, you can only sacrifice your animal soul if your animal soul is pure. Technically. It says in the Tanya with the 19th chapter, a person cannot really serve God unless he does tshuva first. In other words, he has to get rid of the bad things. Right? Go to the mikveh. He has to take it right. He has to purify himself. That's the idea of before praying. You're supposed to learn Chassidut. You're supposed to think in order to purify your animal soul so that it can come close to God. Because if not, it's not going to come close. Okay. Nowadays, it's a little bit different though, because nowadays the animal souls, even our animal souls, don't do sins because of being purposely. Nowadays, there's no such thing as they used to have an apicorus, a mean. There's no such things as these people who are, opposed to the Torah, opposed to them. They just don't know. People just don't know anything. People have no idea what's going on, right? And even the religious people, right? If they do something against what they're supposed to do, it's because, like the Rebbe says, they go temporarily crazy. It's rare to see a person like, Elisha ben Avua or Yoravim ben Navat, that these people are tremendous tzaddikim and they know everything, and purposely they go against the Torah, right? It's rare. I don't know if there exists such a thing now. I don't know if there exists such a thing now, right? To postulate and say, maybe these people who are politicians, religious politicians, I don't know. It's like it says, Yetzro onsum. Their Yetzer Hora drives them crazy. So, there is the comparison between our animal soul. It does have to be clean and pure, etc. We have to get rid of our bad thoughts, our bad actions, about this. And then we can make it come close to God. That's what's called eskafia and eshapcha. Eskafia means you force yourself to do good. You force yourself not to do bad. You force yourself. And then you can transform certain things, what you enjoy. You really feel the pleasure, the sweetness of doing a commandment, of meeting another Jew, of talking to another person, of learning Torah. Even more of understanding the Torah. Ooh, this is wonderful, right? A lot of people, when they understand the Torah, it makes them more of an animal. A very refined animal. But learning the Torah makes them more egotistical. They think they're better than other people. Other people, they learn the Torah, and it just makes them more and more humble, right? You see a lot of people like that. The more learned, there was Rabbi Steinman, just recently passed away. A wonderful person, very humble person, intelligent, genius person. And genius in Torah, but he was very, very simple and very humble, in front of people, didn't he? He had an ability to be very powerful if he wanted to. Rabbi Feinstein, Rabbi, what's his name, Kamenetsky, yeah. These people are the geniuses in Torah, the great in Torah, but the more Torah they learn, the more humble that it makes them. It doesn't take away their power. They're able to stand powerfully for things that they believe in. But just, makes them...
That's Moshe.
That's supposed to be Moshe Rabbeinu, right? That's supposed to be Moshe Rabbeinu. It's found by a lot of other people. The pupils of these people also, the same thing. Hine b'mishkan, that was the service. Look, and there's a karashim. Therefore, in the Holy Temple, it says, make the karashim. What were the karashim? The karashim were these boards. They were really heavy. It says that Moshe couldn't even lift them up on his own. He had to have Hashem help. Boards that were 10 amas high. 10 amas high means like about 15 feet, I guess, high. And that's like what, 15 feet is like a basketball net and a half or something? Basketball nets are half, 10 feet high, I think.
These are the walls around the courtyard.
These are not around the courtyard. These are the walls around not the Mishkan's courtyard. These are the walls around the holy and the holy of holies. Around the courtyard in the tabernacle were curtains. There weren't boards. And then how did it look like? It looked like a square, a big square, and inside of the square a rectangle, and inside of the rectangle was a smaller rectangle. The big rectangle, that was the courtyard. The smaller rectangle, that was what's called the holy, and inside was the holy of holies. And in front of the holy and the holy, sort of this, the smaller rectangle was the outer altar, where they would sacrifice animals. They would burn the animals. They would sacrifice. They would burn the animals. Shenikron, that was, so these the holy and the holy of holies, the Kodesh and the Kodesh Kodashim, they were surrounded by boards. They were called Karushim. And it says, Vasat Karushim Omdim, standing. They were standing, Omdim. Now, in a way, it was sort of redundant or not necessary to say that they were standing. Of course they were standing. They wouldn't be laying down. Of course you have to stand them up. You couldn't make a room if they were laying down, so they're standing. But the Torah says, Omdim. They had to be standing. What does it mean, standing? So the Rebbe is going to say that this is a very big lesson to us. We have to be standing. Standing means you have to have your head up and your feet down. Your feet have to be on the ground firm, and your head has to be up. Right? Standing. Not to be crouched over, not to be sitting. Not to be sitting. But it says sometimes God is sitting on his throne. We have to be standing. This is similar to the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are also called amudim. They're also called pillars. Pillars are called pillars because they stand. Amudim. Pillars. The mitzvahs, the Teriag mitzvahs, the 613 commandments of the Torah, the Zion mitzvahs, the Rabbanan, the 7 commandments of the rabbis, and the 7 rabbinical commandments, they are Tarach Amudei Or. They are altogether 620 pillars of light. Kamoa Amu, just like a pillar. It connects the ceiling with the floor. To be one mamish, to be one building. If you don't have any pillars, the whole thing falls down. There was just a tremendous, 10 years ago, there was a terrible tragedy in Israel that some fellow had a hall that he made weddings and things, a wedding hall. It was 2 levels. There was 1 level on the bottom, 1 level on the top. He made 2 wedding halls. And there's this big pillar in the middle that sort of made the bottom wedding hall sort of unusable. Right? You can only do small things. It was a big pillar. So he decided, he brought an architect, whatever it was, and he cut this pillar from the bottom. He thought it was just for beauty or for attractiveness, whatever it was. And he cut it, and maybe he put some other type of pillar there. I don't know what it was, but he cut it, and it worked. Everything was fine, and he made to it. And one day, it caved in. The top floor caved in, and people died. And the person sitting in prison. There's a pillar makes the whole building a building, makes it one. The ceiling and the floor. Without the pillar, the ceiling becomes the floor, and there's no building. Tragedy. That's what the mitzvahs are. The mitzvahs are like a pillar. Without the pillar, the world is in danger. Al derech masha mitzvahs, that's what the mitzvahs are called, pillars. 613 commandments, and the 7 commandments of the rabbis, they are pillars of light. 620 pillars of light. Just like a pillar, it connects the ceiling and the floor to be one. Similar to the commandments. The commandments, aim amudim, they are pillars. She'em amamshichim, they draw down. Umechabrim, and join. Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu, the infinite light of God, with the worlds. Bezeu Gamken, this is why the Karashia Mishkan, that's also why these boards that were in the tabernacle, and again, the tabernacle is also called the temple. Also, mikdash b'shachanti b'tochem. When God said, "Make me a temple, a holy temple," He was referring to the tabernacle. This Mishkan, these boards, they were made from atzei shitim, from shitim wood. Omdim, and they were standing. Now, if you remember, we learned in the 5th paragraph that this atzei shitim, this shitim stands for shtut, craziness, and is a very, very essential element in making all of this work. All these mimorim and ideas and wonderful concepts, Kabbalistic ideas, and this, to make it actually work. Make it actually work, you have to be a little crazy. To actually defy the whole world, to actually forget about the world and forget about what people say, and to do only what's right and true, you have to be a little bit crazy. But once you do it, you go and ask people to put on tefillin, and you learn a bit longer than you want to. You're nice to everybody. You don't never get angry. You have to be a little bit crazy to do this. To forget about your own values and your own portions. To think only what God wants and stop judging other people. These things feel great. Stop saying lashon hora. As you have to be a little bit crazy in order to do this. To really serve God in a really happy way, in a joyous way, you've got to be crazy. But this is an essential ingredient for making yourself, revealing the fact that you are a holy temple. Atzei shitim. And these atzei shitim, the shitim wood has to be standing. Lefisha ein mechabrim or ein sof, because it joins the roof, which is infinite light of God, with the worlds. Can you join the infinite light of God with this physical world? Yes, not you only can, you must. Certainly we can. What's the explanation? How can we do it? Hine Kativ, it says, Gar Chayos Kana. It says that there screams out the animals of the reeds. That's a simple meaning. It's a sentence in Tehillim. Psalm 68. Hine. Kana. This stick is the dachar of Kalipa, is the masculine aspect of evil. Chayot Kana. The animals of the Kana, the animals, Chayat is feminine, is Nukva the Klipa, is feminine aspect of Klipa. What's masculine Klipa and what's feminine Klipa? What does this mean? Klipa is evil. What's evil? For simple terms, selfishness. There's masculine selfishness and feminine selfishness. What does it mean? Inside of each one of us. Masculine selfishness is you've got an urge. You got a thought. Instigator. It starts. you have all of a sudden a desire. What's feminine? Klipa, you accept it. You accept it. So, oh, this is a good idea. Oh, this is a good urge. I'm going to go for it. Right? Like the saying is, just do it. Just do it. What's the it? You get an idea. Idea, that's the it. Just do it. Do it. That's what Hitler said. Think with your thighs. Think with your arms. Don't, just do it. You get an urge, go for it. Right? That's called the male aspect of Klippa. That's your urges, your thoughts, your desires, your impulses. What's the feminine aspect of Klippa? That you accept it. You say, okay, it's good. I'll do it. Gar chayas kana. What does it mean, gar? The simple meanings of the animals. In this psalm, King David is praising God, that he makes all these animals and makes all these the things, amazing things. And the animals of the reeds, they scream out, and there's all the amazing diversity that God makes. But according to Midrash and according to Kabbalah, we said kana means the masculine aspect of evil. Chayat kana is the feminine aspect of evil. And gar chayat kana means to cut off. Lahachrit et kana, to cut it off. You have a bad thought. You have a bad urge. You have a bad impulse. You want to get angry. You want to get depressed. You want to have a lust. You want to obsession. You want to have everything your way. Right? Cut it off. Don't do it. Don't do it. Say, listen, this is what I want, but it's not what God wants. Like, God's my creator. Who should I do? What I want or what God wants? You know what? I'll do what I want. No. What should I do? Right? What should I do? I'll do what God wants. No, maybe I won't. I'll do what I want. Do what. What should I do here? Right? All of a sudden he says, forget all these arguments. Forget all the arguments. You know what? I'll do the bad thing. I'll be lazy. Okay? All right? I agree. That's it. And then you do what Hashem wants. Then you do what God wants. Right? And all of a sudden you get used to it. You realize that this is a good thing. Right? I had to take another cigarette. I had to yell at somebody. I had to get mad. I had to get depressed. I had to sit in my room. All of a sudden you learn Torah and you do the mitzvahs and you go out and ask another Jew to put on tefillin and you do these crazy things. Right? And suddenly you realize this is the right thing to do. And then you start to really enjoy it. And learning Torah is really great. You know, it's better than reading, the Lord of the Rings. Well, it beats it, right? Lord of the Rings sold, who knows, 50 billion copies. Who knows what Harry Potter, right? Who knows what it is? It's better to learn the Torah. You enjoy it, right? It's actually enjoyable.
It's a much better story.
Right, much better story for sure. Much more practical. So that's what it means. You have to cut off the chayas kana, as we will learn, God willing, in next lesson, tomorrow.